Do you think you know the truth about Jerry Blake? What if I told you that the story you're about to hear has been systematically erased from public record, that documents have been sealed, witnesses have disappeared, and those who've tried to investigate have met with unfortunate circumstances? This isn't just another horror story. This is a documentation of events spanning decades that authorities have worked tirelessly to suppress. The truth about Jerry Blake isn't just disturbing. It challenges our fundamental understanding of reality itself. It began in 1953 in the small industrial town of Milfield, Ohio, a town like any other, with its steel mill, church socials, and neighborhood block parties. Jerry Blake was born on October 17th, during an unusual atmospheric event that local newspapers described as an aurora-like phenomenon that bathed the night sky in a sickly green glow. Hospital records show that 7 other children were born that night. Within a year, 6 of them would die of mysterious causes. The 7th disappeared without a trace. But Jerry survived. His early childhood was unremarkable by most accounts. Former neighbors described him as quiet and always watching. School records obtained through a Freedom of Information request show average grades but repeated notes from teachers about his unusual effect on other children. One teacher, Marion Winters, wrote in 1961, "The other children seem both drawn to and afraid of Jerry. When he enters the room, conversations stop. I've found groups of students standing in circles around him, as if in a trance." Marion Winters resigned her position 3 months after writing this note. She relocated to Arizona and, according to county records, died in a house fire in 1965. The fire inspector's report, which I accessed through a contact in the Phoenix Records Department, notes that the fire originated from impossible points of ignition and that her body was found surrounded by a perfect circle of ash. In 1967, at age 14, Jerry Blake experienced what official records describe as a medical incident. He collapsed during a school assembly where students were watching a film about space exploration. According to witness statements that were later redacted from police reports, Jerry began speaking in a voice that wasn't his own. The school nurse who attended to him, Helen Carver, reported that his temperature was off the charts, but his skin was cold as ice. Helen Carver took early retirement the following week. She was found 3 years later in her apartment, sitting upright in a chair facing the wall. The coroner determined she had been dead for 7 days, but neighbors reported hearing her voice in conversation just hours before the discovery of her body. The case was never solved. Between 1968 and 1972, 17 pets disappeared in Jerry's neighborhood. Local newspaper archives show no connection was ever made publicly, but a personal journal belonging to Officer Thomas Reed of the Milfield Police Department contains the following entry from April 1972. "The Blake boy again. 3rd missing animal this month. Parents refuse to acknowledge. Something wrong with his eyes when he thinks no one is looking." Officer Reed was transferred to desk duty 2 weeks after this entry. He died of an apparent suicide in 1974. The note he left behind contained only one sentence: "He knows I've seen him." Jerry Blake's high school yearbook photo from 1971 shows an ordinary teenager with a slight smile. What's extraordinary is that 5 different students from his graduating class, when interviewed separately for this investigation, described completely different physical appearances when asked about Jerry Blake. One remembered him as tall with blonde hair, another as stocky with dark curly hair. A third insisted he had red hair and freckles. All school records, however, show consistent physical descriptions matching his yearbook photo. Milfield experienced an unusual number of disappearances between 1970 and 1975. 23 people vanished without explanation. Police records show no connections between the cases, but my investigation revealed that each missing person had some interaction with Jerry Blake in the week prior to their disappearance. Most disturbing was the case of Linda Morrison, who told her mother she had been followed by Jerry Blake's reflection the day before she vanished. According to her mother's statement, Linda claimed to see Jerry's reflection in windows and mirrors when the actual Jerry wasn't present. Linda Morrison's mother was committed to Westlake Psychiatric Facility in 1976. Records show she repeatedly claimed that she could hear her daughter's voice coming from inside the walls of her home. She died during a power outage at the facility in 1978. The official cause was heart failure, but a nurse who was present that night later claimed that the woman's room was significantly colder than the rest of the building and that she was found staring at the ceiling with an expression of absolute terror. In 1975, Jerry Blake left Milfield. School records indicate he received a scholarship to attend Dartmouth College, but Dartmouth has no record of his enrollment. In fact, for the next 7 years, Jerry Blake seems to have vanished from all official documentation. He resurfaced in 1982 in Seattle, Washington, where he began working for Nexus Technologies, a small computer company developing early networking systems. Former colleagues described him as brilliant but unsettling. One coworker, who requested anonymity, said, "Jerry could solve programming problems that stumped everyone else. He'd stare at the screen for hours without blinking, then type furiously for a few minutes, and the solution would be there." But nobody could ever understand his code. It worked perfectly, but senior programmers said it shouldn't have worked at all. It was like he wasn't writing code for our computers, but for something else entirely. Between 1982 and 1985, 7 Nexus employees who worked directly with Jerry Blake were diagnosed with the same unusual form of brain cancer. Medical records show identical tumor formations in the visual processing centers of their brains. All 7 reported the same symptom before their diagnoses. They claimed to see Jerry Blake standing in the corner of the room when they looked at their computer screens, even when they were alone. In 1985, a fire destroyed Nexus Technologies' main research facility. The fire occurred at 3:17 a.m. Security footage recovered from a nearby building shows that all the lights in the facility turned on simultaneously seconds before the blaze began. No official cause was ever determined. The only items recovered intact from the server room were Jerry Blake's personal computer and a journal. The journal was confiscated by individuals identifying themselves as federal agents, according to the fire investigators' report. Through a source who previously worked for a 3-letter agency that I cannot name, I obtained 3 pages from this journal. The entries are disturbing. One dated March 12, 1985 reads, "The gateway is forming. I can see through it now when the systems are all connected. They don't understand what they've built. It's not linking our computers together. It's creating a window. And something is looking back at us." After the fire, Jerry Blake disappeared again. Property records show he purchased a remote cabin in northern Idaho in 1986, but locals have no recollection of ever seeing him there. The cabin was found abandoned in 1990 with unusual modifications to the structure. The interior walls were covered with thousands of small mirrors arranged in geometric patterns. More disturbing were the dozens of computer monitors set up throughout the cabin, all facing inward toward a chair in the center of the main room. According to the police report, all the monitors were connected to a central system, but no computer was ever found. Between 1990 and 1997, there were 12 reported sightings of Jerry Blake in different cities across the United States, always near locations where new internet infrastructure was being installed. A technician in Denver claimed to have seen him standing inside a server room that was locked from the outside. Security footage showed no one entering or leaving, but did capture a momentary distortion of the image at the exact time the technician reported seeing Blake. In 1997, 5 former classmates of Jerry Blake from Milfield High School died under mysterious circumstances within the same week. Each was found seated in front of a computer. Autopsies revealed identical brain abnormalities in all 5 victims. Their pineal glands were calcified to an extent that medical examiners described as unprecedented. One victim's computer contained a video file created minutes before his death. The file, which was quickly confiscated by federal authorities, reportedly showed nothing but static, but the audio contained a voice repeating, "Do you see me now? I see you." Jerry Blake officially resurfaced in 1998 when he founded Mirror Portal Technologies, a startup focused on developing virtual reality interfaces. The company received significant venture capital funding despite having no clear product or business model. Former employees described the company's research as boundary pushing and not entirely focused on commercial applications. One former researcher, Dr. Elena Vasquez, stated, "Jerry wasn't interested in creating entertainment. He talked about thinning the barrier and creating persistent bridges. His technical specifications made no sense from a conventional engineering perspective, but the prototypes worked in ways we couldn't explain." Dr. Vasquez resigned from Mirror Portal in 2001. 3 months later, she was admitted to a psychiatric facility after claiming that her reflection was no longer her own, and that she could see Jerry watching her through any reflective surface. Hospital records indicate she refused to have any mirrors or screens in her room. She was found dead in 2003 despite being under 24-hour observation. Security footage from the facility shows no one entering or leaving her room, but does show a 17-second distortion in the image shortly before her body was discovered. In 2001, Mirror Portal Technologies unveiled a prototype VR system at a private technology demonstration. According to attendees, the system provided an immersive experience far beyond what should have been possible with the technology of that time. Users reported feeling like they were truly in another place, and several experienced extreme disorientation upon removing the headsets. 2 demonstration participants were hospitalized after experiencing seizures. One, venture capitalist Robert Chen reportedly told medical staff that while in the virtual environment, he had seen countless eyes watching from just beyond the visible areas. Robert Chen withdrew his investment in Mirror Portal and took a sabbatical from his firm. His family reported increasingly paranoid behavior in the months that followed. He refused to use any digital devices and covered all reflective surfaces in his home. In April 2002, he disappeared from his lake house in upstate New York. Investigators found his laptop open on his desk, displaying a text document containing only the repeated phrase, "He's coming through." Chen was never found. Mirror Portal Technologies abruptly shut down in October 2002. Company assets were acquired by a shell corporation that investigation revealed was linked to a government contractor specializing in advanced research projects. All former employees were required to sign unusually strict non-disclosure agreements. 3 senior engineers from the company died within a year of its closure, one in a car accident, one of an apparent suicide, and one from a sudden brain aneurysm. All 3 had worked directly on the core technology of Mirror Portal's VR system. Between 2003 and 2008, Jerry Blake's whereabouts are unknown. No financial transactions, travel records, or communications exist under his name during this period. However, during these exact years, internet forums and chat rooms began filling with accounts of what became known as the reflection phenomenon. People claiming to see strange figures in mirrors, windows, and screens, often described as watching from another place. Most disturbing were reports of seeing the same individual in reflections around the world, a man whose description closely matched Jerry Blake. In 2008, Jerry Blake was listed as a special consultant to Quantum Mirror Labs, a research initiative funded by the Department of Defense. All information about this project is classified, but through a whistleblower who has since disappeared, I obtained a partial transcript of a meeting where Blake reportedly told military officials, "It's not a weapon, it's a doorway, and it's already partially open." From 2009 to 2014, unusual phenomena were reported near the facility where Quantum Mirror Labs was allegedly housed. Local residents described electronic malfunctions, unexplained reflections in bodies of water, and disturbing dreams shared by multiple people on the same nights. Wildlife abnormalities were also documented, birds flying in perfect geometric patterns, and instances of animals standing completely motionless for hours, all facing the same direction. A forest fire destroyed the Quantum Mirror Labs facility in 2014. Official records state that all personnel were evacuated safely, but hospital records from the region show 17 admissions for individuals with identical symptoms, severe radiation like burns, extreme sensitivity to light, and what one doctor described in his notes as visual processing anomalies. All 17 patients reported seeing someone else looking through their eyes when they closed them. In 2015, Jerry Blake was declared legally dead after human remains found in the ruins of the facility were identified as his through DNA testing. However, in my investigation, I discovered that the DNA reference sample used for comparison came from an unidentified source, not from any verified previous sample of Blake's DNA. The story should end there, but it doesn't. Since 2015, there have been 4,317 documented cases globally of what psychologists now call reflective displacement disorder, people becoming convinced that something is watching them through reflective surfaces. Many claim to see the same figure, a man whose description matches Jerry Blake, though none of these individuals have any known connection to him. Medical professionals attribute this to mass hysteria spread through internet forums, but cannot explain the consistent details reported by individuals with no contact with each other. In 2018, a previously unreleased security video from Quantum Mirror Labs surfaced briefly on an obscure file-sharing site before being removed. In the 45 seconds of footage I was able to download before it was taken down, Jerry Blake is seen standing alone in a room lined with what appear to be experimental mirror-like surfaces. He speaks directly to the camera. The first ones are already here. They're using me as a template, learning to look like us. Every screen is a window, every camera is an eye, every reflection is a door, and now they know you're watching. 3 individuals connected to my investigation have disappeared in the past year. My primary source within the defunct Quantum Mirror Labs sent me a final message before vanishing. I found his journal. It's not just one Jerry Blake, it never was. There are thousands of him, slight variations, existing simultaneously. He wasn't born human. He's how they learned to pass as us. The most disturbing development came just 3 months ago. Facial recognition software has identified individuals matching Jerry Blake's appearance in security footage from locations across the world, all captured simultaneously. Digital analysis experts confirm the images show the same person, not just similar-looking individuals. More alarming is that in each instance, the figure is looking directly at the camera. Last week, I received an unmarked package containing a single USB drive. It held only a text file with geographic coordinates and a time. Following this lead, I discovered a hidden chamber beneath an abandoned research facility. Inside was a single computer, decades old but still functioning. On the screen was a message waiting for me. Watching this means you're connected to me now. Your screen is my window. Your camera is my eye. Your reflection is my door. Do you see me yet? I see you. As I read those words, my computer camera light turned on by itself. When I covered it, every reflective surface in my room, my phone screen, my watch face, even the glass of water on my desk, briefly showed the same image, Jerry Blake, staring back at me, not at the reflection, but at me directly, as though the reflection was the reality and I was the image. I'm sharing this investigation now because I don't know how much longer I can. Strange distortions appear in my vision at the edges of my sight. My own reflection seems delayed, moving a fraction of a second after I do. Sometimes I see someone else's eyes looking back at me, Jerry's eyes. This isn't just another internet horror story. The evidence spans decades, across multiple sources and witnesses. Jerry Blake wasn't just a man. He was the first visible intrusion of something that has been watching us from behind the thin barrier of reflective surfaces, something that has learned to use our technology, our screens, our connected devices as gateways. And now you know too. You've read these words on your screen. You've formed the image of Jerry Blake in your mind. Have you looked at your reflection recently? Is it still perfectly mimicking your movements, or is there a subtle delay? That glimpse of another presence behind your eyes, is it just your imagination? Every screen is a window. Every camera is an eye. Every reflection is a door. And Jerry Blake isn't gone. He's waiting, watching. He always has been. But now, through the connected world we've built, there are more of him than ever before. Variations, copies, templates, spreading through our digital infrastructure, learning to look like us, move like us, replace us. Next time you catch your reflection acting strangely, remember, it might not be your imagination. Next time your camera turns on unexpectedly, consider what might be looking through. Next time you feel watched through your screen, understand that you are. The most terrifying truth about Jerry Blake isn't that he existed, it's that he still does. And now he exists in thousands of forms, in every reflective surface, in every screen, in every digital eye we've built into our world. I've shown you the door. I've made you aware. And in doing so, I've made you visible to them too. They know you're watching now. They've seen your face in your screen's reflection as you read these words. They've cataloged your expressions, your movements, your environment visible in the background. When you finish reading this, you'll likely dismiss it as fiction. An elaborate horror story designed to unsettle you. That's the natural response, the safe response. But then you'll notice small things, Digital glitches that seem targeted specifically at you. Reflections that don't quite match your movements. The feeling of being observed even in empty rooms. The sensation that the Jerry Blake I've described to you is standing just behind you, watching over your shoulder as you read these final words. Don't turn around too quickly. In the peripheral edge of your vision, sometimes they forget to disappear in time. Leave a comment below with the phrase, "I see him too," if you've made it to the end of this video. Not because I want engagement, but because I need to know how many of you are now connected to the network, how many new windows have been opened, how many new reflections have become doors. There's a reason this information has been suppressed for decades. There's a reason witnesses disappear, evidence vanishes, and investigators meet unfortunate ends. The truth about Jerry Blake isn't just disturbing, it's dangerous. Knowledge creates connection. Connection creates access. Access creates vulnerability. And now you're connected too. The moment your eyes registered these words on your screen, you became part of the network. Another window, another door. Sleep well tonight, but perhaps leave a light on. And whatever you do, don't stare too long at your own reflection, because it might just stare back, and it might not be you looking out from behind those eyes anymore.